Touche. I'm curious at this point in spring with so many new players, are there things that surprise you with what you see on the field or in the meeting room?
Yeah, I think, I'm really impressed with how our new guys, the newcomers in this program, whether they be early enrollees or transfers, have really acclimated and adapted to how we do things, embraced how we do things, their work ethic and attitude on things that they understand that with as many new faces as we have, what needs to be done and the attention to detail it is. So that part has been, I honestly thought we'd have more bumps and trying to corral them, so to speak, to get them going in the right direction. I've been very, very happy with that. And I think I said this even some last year. It's through some of this, and it's a tribute to our staff. And as we said before, there's so many things that happen in the portal between how fast it moves, who's available in your range of what you can really afford. Okay, we didn't really talk that way before, but that's the truth. And then the type of kids that we're getting, these young men that really want a chance to play and contribute and do that. So I'm really happy with that.
Something DK talked about with the safety room was kind of recruiting guys that have different body types than maybe you guys had last year. What have you seen from kind of that room early on?
Yeah, it's a room that I think, again, is going to be highly competitive. I don't think, obviously all the bodies aren't completely healthy to go out there. So I'm really anxious to see where August goes with us once we have them. But all in all, I think we've added some size, some height, all those type of things that we felt we needed to. I think we're at that position as well as other places. Our overall team speed is better, so we got a lot of things that way. And now we continue to work to develop in them to being consistent physical players and doing those things. But again, like a guy like Jaden Harris is, been a fine addition, fine young man, loves football, been in a couple high-profile programs that it brings a perspective to the guys in the room about some things. But he's also helped push Taylor Davis a lot. And again, I think we use that example one other time about like Marvin Grant made O.J. Burroughs a better football player his first year here before they played together in the secondary. We're going to have a lot of that at that position, I believe.
Lance, we just talked to Z and asked him sort of about the quarterback battle, of course. That's his main position, obviously. What's the mental side of that? What do you tell those guys? They've obviously been around, they've been in the program, and they've been a part of this thing. What do you tell them before this thing gets started with the opportunity and the chance to really compete for it?
I think, again, without saying it to them, I think they understand that it is a competitive situation. I think they see how we run practices, how we've done it before, that they both feel they'll be given opportunities with different players and different units at times, and that it'll truly be evaluated like it is in many ways from, everything is graded and charted and all those different things. But the other part is the intangible part of being somebody that can be a leader in the locker room, be a leader in the huddle, get guys lined up and doing all the little things that we need at that position and go. And I think both those guys understand it and both continue to show the ability to lead our football team.
Yeah, you said when we talked to you last that you're not expecting any decision there this spring even. And Z even did the best coach speak, best guy would play, he said. So good job by him.
Right? Thanks. Yeah, we coach him up kind of well there.
Have you ever had experience with the two quarterback system? Would you be open to that if it comes to that, maybe even in fall camp? I mean, is that something you guys even
have
talk
I
about?
fully gone two quarterback system? I'm trying to think if I've ever really done that, even as an assistant. I can't really say so. Probably there's one in there that, can I see both guys on the field like we did some last year? Sure, I can see us doing things, but I do believe, and I'll say it now unless something would definitely change, that I think you have to give people an opportunity to get to the flow of the game at that position instead of kind of going back and forth. So we'll see, and then Chase continues to show flashes of again, he's been a little limited yet in what he's doing in some of our some of our 11-on-11 stuff in that. But hoping that he can come around and do things well because he's extremely athletic and shows flashes as well. So we'll see.
Jim talked about the role change that you guys went through, and you talked about how he and Andy are working so well together again. But were you ever concerned at all, or there's another word for Jim maybe deciding with that role change that he might not come back?
Concerned that he wouldn't come back. I never got that opinion. Again, anytime you, at least myself as a head coach, anytime you have to make a staff change, and that might be letting someone go, or in this case, essentially a reassignment of position, you can say demotion, whatever those aren't easy. Okay, there's a lot, and when you're contemplating those things and the effects that it can have on the individual, their family, the program, there's multiple sleepless nights of things, and Jim and I go back a long way, and Jim's been very loyal to our program, especially after rejoining us, and we go back to 2007 together. As I said, his first and only question to me was, do I still get to coach quarterbacks? So at that time, I never got the feeling that he was going to say, okay, but I'm going to explore other options and things like that. So he is, his daughter graduated from here. He loves it here in Lawrence. He conveyed that to me in our talk. So I never really had that. Again, you never know what happens through things, but as I've said, I think because Andy and Jim have worked together before, I think they both know strengths and weaknesses and what's going to kind of happen and how it kind of progresses, and I expect it to be a great working relationship. And like I said, and then Matt was involved as a remote analyst, and now to have him in the building every day, I think we have some really good thoughts by those guys to kind of make us a better football team.
You brought in several experienced players on the O-line. How do you see them incorporating themselves so far?
I'm sorry, the new ones?
Yeah.
Again, it's really competitive there. Just talking with Daryl the other day of different guys. It's still a work in progress for competitiveness of where it's at, because I'll tell you, some of last year's additions, you can tell that they've been in the program. Jack Tanner, Tabake, he's a lot more comfortable, and so it's going to be competitive. But Connor Stroh's a guy, he's a big fella. We're bigger up front, I think, overall. Kaysen's done a nice job at center. I think we're going to have Nick Morrow's going to be there. Brandon Solis is in. So I think probably I'm using a guesstimate here of linemen 1 through 10, meaning a 2 deep, so to speak. I think we'll be a deeper unit than we were a year ago. And go ahead.
Sorry, at tight end, you guys added some older guys, but Carson is back.
Yeah.
Layton. First of all, what step do you hope to see from Carson this offseason, and then in terms of the 2 new guys, and Carter and Jalen?
Yeah, there's 4 right now, and then we'll have a couple Jack Utz is here right now, and Jack is getting better every day. He's put on some weight. He's coming off an injury that he sustained late in his senior season. Kevin Sullivan will get here this summer. But again, the group has good depth, and as we go, Carson was playing good football for us for a redshirt freshman last year, and he's got a really bright future, and he's the biggest body. All of them need to continue to work on blocking, and we know that, and we continue to work on that hard. But we look for Carson to do a lot in this offense and do a lot of things. Leighton Keir's a guy that continues to develop confidence, extremely athletic, takes a backseat to no one in work ethic and positive attitude and how he goes about it. Made a big catch today, and then the 2 guys, JB's continues to get better. Carter Moses keeps getting better as well. I think again with the multiple personnel units that we like to use and Andy really likes to take care of, all those guys are gonna help this football team. And again, we keep, just like we talked about secondary, just like we talked about offensive line, the more competition, the better you're gonna practice and develop and push each other, and the better chance you have. And then when you do end up with an injury or so that are gonna happen in the game, that your drop-off isn't there and you can continue to move forward.
Yes, with a couple portal receivers, what have you seen from Cox and McMillan?
Again, both guys are gonna help this football team, John, really, they obviously we had to go after some guys with some length to them and that, Nick started really well. Najee's, and I got dinged up a little bit today with a neck spasm, but he's made a lot of contested catches here of late. Nick McMillan continues to show that he's gonna help this offense in a lot of different ways. You could see why he was such a productive player at Buffalo for them. You put them with Cam and Keaton, and, it's gonna be a very solid core. And again, as we continue to progress through things, we'll find ways that what they all do best and find a way to incorporate them all. But really, really happy to have those guys.
I was watching the running backs and just wanted to ask you about a true freshman, Corey. What have you seen from him at running back?
Yeah, I talked to Corey today. I said, through the scrimmage and everything like that, he was a little sore today and wasn't moving quite the same. And I asked him if he was okay, and I said, because he shows all the abilities to help us as a true freshman. He's physically, he's developed that where you're not sitting there having to wait for a guy to put the weight on and the strength. He's in Jonathan Wallace's office all the time asking questions. He's got a great work ethic, a great skill set. He's understanding, what the offense is about, learning pace and tempo and expectations of certain running plays. And I'm really excited about what Corey's going to give this program, not only this fall, but in his career.
Lance, you talked about guys kind of pushing each other. Have you seen Isaiah and Cole kind of get pushed by Chase Atkins, getting added to the room?
Do I see him getting pushed by him?
Yeah.
I can say, could it happen? Yes. Has it happened yet? Because of the limitations, it hasn't yet, so we'll see. But again, Chase has a great attitude. He's positive, he's working, he's getting the mental reps when he can, but we'll have to see where that comes. But again, when we recruit him, those are things that was gonna be a chance for anyone that comes into this program with the practice models that we have, that we wanna give those guys, and hopefully, they said, a healthy Chase Jenkins will allow us to get that evaluation done.
You guys had to deal with targeting a lot last year. What's your thoughts on the trial rule change to have it so your first targeting offense, if it's in the second half, doesn't make you suspended for the next game?
Yeah, what did we have last year, like 3?
It felt like a lot, I don't know.
I thought it was like 3, and that's 3 probably more than the first 10 years of my coaching career, that it just happened to, I think it's a good rule. I think, the thing that made it tough is when that guy stands there the first half of the next game and you're looking at how you practice and, okay, well, you got to get him ready because he's going to play the back half of the game and whatever. It was just kind of odd. And like I said, we hadn't had a lot in our program wherever I've been, so to kind of deal with it was different. The game is fast and it's physical, and a lot of the calls I thought it had really tapered down in football a little bit, that we had pretty good control of what targeting was. And then I think we kind of spiked a little bit more last year again, and hopefully this kind of gets us back to, a good, safe way. I think, not trying to go too far into this, targeting to me, when it first started, was to get rid of the launching and stuff of that was happening up into the head area and stuff. Some of these ones that come in, when a guy coming in to make a tackle that's full of 2 guys and somebody kind of, those are the ones that get really tough and frustrating, so.
Anything else, Coach Leipold? All right, thanks everyone. Please, Coach.
Thanks. I like the